Hello, I'm Ann Gritch, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this segment of the oral history of the Diocese of San Jose. And I am particularly happy that today we have with us Richard and Lucia Hong, who are leaders not only in our Korean community, but in the diocese as well. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. So tell us first of all about your background. You were both born in Korea?
Yes, I was born in Korea. In fact, right after Korean War. So it was really a difficult time in Korea. And I went to high school, and then I went to Catholic high school in Korea. So I knew kind of exposed to Catholic a little bit. I wasn't Catholic yet. So and then after high school, I had the opportunity to immigrate over to U.S.
Okay.
That was a long time ago, 1972.
And Lucia, you were born in Korea also?
Yes, yeah, I also born in Korea and finished the high school. But I wasn't sure when we're going to get immigrated here because we're applied it, but you never know when. So I went to college. We had a Sacred Heart College in Korea. So I went to one semester and just suddenly we all got ready to go. Yeah, it was very surprised. Well, first my mom was going to go and then invite family over. But when we got the invitation, everybody was on it, seven of us, yeah. So I had to, after one semester, I had to then finish the school there and then came here. But the one semester I did it in Sacred Heart in Korea helped me a lot here.
Now, were you Catholic?
I was Catholic. I'm maybe about third generation Catholic in Korea, yes. Yeah.
And then the two of you, if I remember correctly, you met at UC Berkeley?
I think it started, we went together, San Francisco City College for 2 years, and then we transferred over. So it started at the San Francisco City, and that time was very interesting. There were only few Koreans, so once who dating with who, then that's untouchable. So nobody asked me out or anything along that lines.
Well, we didn't have many, I'll say I didn't have many choices. We didn't have that many Koreans, as he said, in City College. And he transferred year after, and then I we stay one more year and transfer. Yeah. So we're in Berkeley, and happened to be, I applied a dome and came into the same dome. So we stayed in the same dome, the different floors. That time we had a girls' floor and then a men's floor. So
that was pretty radical in those days.
Oh yeah, but a year later, that his floor got co-ed. 70 or something like
75.
Oh my God, yeah, that was a shock. But anyway, we're there. I mean, since we're in the same dome and we had a breakfast together, and then we studied together, then we just barely slept that time. But it wasn't easy at all, because after 2 years in City College, we barely just speaking English, and then transferring Berkeley wasn't easy at all. So we had a really hard time catching up on the classes and stuff, but we're still dating. So we're a famous campus couple.
That's great. Tell us about the Korean Catholic community, how it got started or where it got started.
Yes, I last year we celebrated Korean Catholic community in Bay Area. We celebrated 50 years.
Wow.
50th years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then so I dig into it a little bit, and then I found out Lucia's, or my father-in-law's sister's husband was out here.
My aunt, yeah.
Yeah. And then at that time, a few people in that age was in this area in San Francisco.
They were all students.
Yeah, they were all
to
students.
Study,
yeah.
And the couples, yeah.
And then they got together, and then they started, and then there was something like 50 years ago.
Wow.
And so that's where it got started. I don't know if you recognized Saint Savior.
Xavier, Francis Xavier, it's in
Yeah.
Japantown,
Oh, yes.
Octavia.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little
Octavia.
church.
Yes,
Yeah.
very little
Yeah,
church.
there was the father Guslow, who's a German,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
spoke Japanese. So the Japanese, he was doing Japanese mass, and so we had a mass there, and then I guess he did it in Japanese or English. So he did the mass for the
So-
Korean community.
So he started this Korean community in Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. That's the first community in this area. In fact, that's the first community in U.S.
Oh, wow.
That's the
And
first
so
one.
people came from all over the Bay Area,
Yes.
Korean people.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think mainly maybe San Francisco area.
At
but
that time,
not
that,
one,
at that time, Koreans very few Koreans.
Not that many.
As a history, I think will tell you that it is a very homogeneous society at the time, and then it grew into different groups. But when my father-in-law came over, the first project he had was along the line of, we need to have a Korean priest to have a Korean mass.
Mass in Korean.
So that's how he started, and then he knew bishop at Suwon Diocese, and that's how we start to bring this priest from Suwon Diocese.
Which is in South Korea?
Yes,
in
yeah,
South
near
Korea
Seoul.
Near Seoul.
a little bit south of Seoul.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And that diocese has supplied priests ever since?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, until
So,
now, San Francisco and us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
So at that time, I owned the San Francisco community, and in 1977,
76 he came.
yeah,
Father Cho.
no, 75, 75, 70,
In the mid
no, no,
70s.
76,
In the mid
76,
70s.
yes.
76.
But,
Yeah. Because
when I
I know
said-
I was transferring to the Berkeley.
Yeah,
It's in
that
76.
on 77, he said the first mass in San Jose.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
how it started.
So,
and then,
so it was before we became a diocese.
That's
Yes.
correct. That's
Yes.
correct.
And where was Mass? Where did you hold it?
There's a gymnasium of St. Lawrence.
Oh, it's St. Lawrence the Martyr in the
Yes.
gym. All right. That's how you got started.
That's how it
Yes.
goes. And that time we had about 40 couples.
Now, were you living in Santa Clara County then?
No,
We came
we
2
were.
years later, 79. But
Yeah.
it started the first mass 77, and the San Francisco community was a little getting bigger because since Father came here and all that, and then I already had a choir, so we brought the choir down to the San Jose and sang for that mass. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's great.
that was the choir then.
So let me ask you, January 27th, 1981, the announcement was made that San Jose would become a diocese, no longer part of the Archdiocese of San Francisco.
Yes.
How did the community and how did you personally feel about that when you heard the news?
When I heard the news, I didn't know what that meant.
What it meant?
Yeah.
I mean,
At first.
I
Sure.
become Catholic to marry to her. That was a requirement imposed on by my father-in-law. He said, "You gotta be a Catholic." So, and then I have a little bit of background in Catholic, so I became a Catholic at that time. So, but the first time I believe the chancery office is in Palo Alto.
Los Altos.
Los Altos,
Los
right.
Altos,
Where the
yes,
St.
yes.
Joseph
Seminary was.
seminary
Yes.
was,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
And then I still remember I met Robert Brancadelli
There.
there.
Oh,
Yes, it was I think it's I don't remember the dates. It was 81, 82, right after of it. He was doing a CYO, and then he said he's going to have volleyball games with all the youth in the diocese. Great. The Koreans need to show up. So I brought I was doing a youth ministry at that time, so I brought the Koreans in there. So I kind of know him better and so on. So that's my connection of diocese kind of got started.
And Lucia, you are a musician, and you have had choirs all your life practically.
Yeah, that's right. So as I said, I started a choir in San Francisco community, and then we moved down here in '79. So as soon as I got here, we just there was an organist, but there was no choir. So after that, a few weeks later, we had a young couple, 10 young couple. Just maybe 1 or 2 kids. They all just got married and in our age. So we just formed a young adults group, and then we started singing the choir. So that time we didn't have the practice room, of course, because we only used a few hours of gymnasium, right? So we practice in the lawn, right before mass and stuff. And then sometimes the sprinkler comes out. But we practiced and we did the singing, and then since then, I left my community 2001 to work at the Radio City. So
yes, you were the music director at Mount Carmel in Radio City, and now
right.
Bishop Calvo was
that's right.
Yes.
I mean, for your recommendation, everything starts with a lot of things involving you, because I met you long time ago when you're in charge of the worship. And I don't know you remember or not, the first time I met was a Queen of Apostle. What is that group? Folklore? There was a folklore meeting something, and then Jake and Jamie was playing.
That's right.
And then I met I met Anne. Then you came to our church in every confirmation of the Bishop Domain, and you're the one recommending me to go to the Rome for the conductors meeting, and after that it goes on and on. So anyway, you recommend me to go to the Santa Clara. And until then, I didn't know anything. It took 4 years, so 1996. Until then, I was just, what do you call it? We call frog in the well. Just a little pond. I mean, I was just with the Korean community, and then you told me to go explore. So I did, and I started taking classes. After 4 years later, I got a degree. Then
your degree was in liturgical music.
Yes,
you was a graduate degree,
right? And then pastoral ministry, right? And then it was quite a change. When I went back to my parish, I just couldn't adjust, or I see too many things in the Word. And then my advisor and my mentor, Sister Rita Claire. She told me, why you always want to volunteer for 22 years, and then why you want to keep only the serve for your own people. You have so many people in this diocese, and they're waiting for you. She told me. So
good for her.
I was looking for a job at that time. San Jose Diocese didn't have anything, so I called Radio City, and then I was talking to Bishop Calvo. In 1 minute, I said, "Oh, I'm going to work for him. I'm going to work for him." In the telephone, so I said yes on it, and then I just started with one mass. That time I just graduated, and I didn't know anything about much. I know the hymn book. I can sing anything. I see it because I'm a musician. I can teach them, but I didn't know much about liturgy, American liturgy, because I was with Korean parish then. After that, about 6 months later, I became a director. I charged with all masses and stuff, and I was there 5 years. Right after Bishop Calvo left, you called me again. I said, "You come down. You have to work for the Diocese of San Jose. Why you're in San Francisco?" So I came down, and then I met Father Gary. Oh my God,
This is Father Gary Thomas.
Yes, it's Father Gary Thomas. It's been 12th year. I think this is 12th year starting together. He came to Sacred Heart in May, and he was looking for 8. I got hired in August, 3 months later. And boy, we clicked. He's picky as ever, but luckily he loves me. After I do like a Christmas or Easter, he just can't stop, telling me how good we did and all that. And he supports everything. He said, "I pay all money. You just make the good, if you don't have a budget," I said, "I'll pay you. I'll give you the money." He said, I don't think we have any other pastor. He supports the music ministry like that.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It's good to hear that.
Yeah, it's so he's incredible, and he takes care of the steps so well.
The one
Now
thing,
you still do some work with every once in a while with the Korean community.
Oh yeah, I do a lot still. I play daily masses, and I do Reason of Mary, that prayer group, and I still do we have a district meeting, like a renew kind of type, and I'm heavily involved in that. We are both very involved in Korean Crucio.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, and then he just became a charge of the whole Northern California.
Of course.
Northern USA or whatever.
North America.
North America.
No kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he has all over United States and
Wow.
8 district. Yeah,
That's
Yes.
marvelous.
we're heavily on to that, and Koreans very doing very well with the retreats ourselves and
Great.
all that. And then, so
Now tell me now about the community, how it's grown and it's become a parish now.
Yes. I mentioned that we started with about 40 couples, 40 families.
In the gym.
In a gym, yes.
Oh,
yes.
imagine, yes, yeah. 77,
Uh,
77.
We moved around quite a bit from the gym to Midi High School Chapel
Okay.
to Queen of Apostles,
That's where I remember Queen of Apostles.
and then moved to Sunnyvale warehouse.
You had your own. But you had your own space.
Yes, and then we became a mission over there. I think it was something like I don't really remember when it was. It was early 2000.
And it was Holy Korean Martyrs was the name then.
No,
Yes.
not
No, it was Saints
no,
Andrew
Saints
and
Andrew and Paul.
That's
yes.
right.
The Catholic mission.
That's
Yes.
right.
And
I remember it was
Father Yan,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah, with the
Saints
Father Yan.
Andrew and Paul
Yeah.
Korean
Mission.
mission. Yeah,
Yes.
it was very involved.
Yeah.
Yes, and then it becomes 2005. We become a parish.
Parish.
Yes, our Holy Korean Martyrs parish.
Also with
Uh,
Father Yang.
with those years, I think first of all, early 80s, starting early 80s, the Korean population in this area grew very rapidly because of immigration. A lot of people came to this Bay Area. And then this Silicon Valley started picking up early 90s and so on. And Koreans, they love to study. So there are a lot of Koreans move into this area so that our parish is growing really fast. Right now, I believe the count is about 1,000 families or a little bit more. So that's how it's becoming the current parish.
Well, I remember in the 80s and 90s, and it's probably still the case, at the rite of election each year, you would send 35, 40, 45
Yes.
catechumens. Is that still happening?
Still happening.
That's amazing.
And the more amazing thing is, there's one thing I need to add to proudly, that is we have English RCIA.
RCIA
Class.
in English.
Yes.
Way
so
to go.
in the past, we basically did little young ones kind of did that, but the adults,
We're in Korean. Sure.
Korean women are amazing. They bringing all their potential spouses or fiance or non-Catholic husbands to this group. Last year, we had about 12 English-speaking young adults had baptized.
That's amazing.
But this group is not only Korean. It's all mixed.
Yeah,
There was a Vietnamese couple there, and there was it's all the Korean wife and then
And
the
then
husband's
husband
Chinese
or the other way.
Right.
The
Or
other
the-
way.
sure.
Yeah, so we cannot say this is just for the Korean. It's all.
So
And
it's-
our 9:30 mass is just everybody comes. Yeah, it's all mixed. It's just that's the biggest change after we moved to our current location.
Yes, and now tell us about the current location and the move, because that was quite involved, as I recall.
It was persistence and perseverance for about 15 years. And I don't know, it was a call, I guess, in some way. I involved all those 15 years in a various capacity. And then toward the end of it, I was in charge of a building committee, and then I turned it over to somebody else, and I become a project manager.
Construction manager.
Construction manager. I still remember that.
For a couple of years.
I come to a site every lunchtime, not every day, most likely about twice a week, but once a week is a must for me. Had a meeting with the architect and contractors and so on. So it was very exciting.
Because the community built the church, is that right?
Yes, we purchased well, let me tell you a little bit of a story. I think that's a key things. I really love San Jose, Diocese of San Jose, and so on. We tried 15 years.
I remember.
But I recognized myself that maybe we were not really aligned with the diocese. So we were searching maybe a little bit differently than what diocese was really looking at. So it went through all kinds of struggles. But one day, it's February 9th, I believe, of 12. Bob,
Serventi?
CFO, Bob
Serventi.
Serventi, gave me a call in the morning, and then he said, "Richard, I have a news for you." So what does that mean, a news? So I said, there's a small property I want to show you. So I said, okay, that's great. I see so many of them already. So anyway, but he said, you will like this. So I said, okay. So should I go there myself? No, why don't you bring your pastor and whoever involved in it? So I call up a pastor, and then he said, yeah, let's go see. So I had very intentionally to get into the mood of a joyful occasion. We went very nice lunch, myself and then a pastor went a very nice lunch, and then we went over there, and then first thing, Pastor Huang, he said is, wow, I like this.
All right.
It was 11 acres, huge property, and then there's a church already there, which is a church, but we need a little bit of work. And then there's a two-story buildings for all these offices or the meeting rooms and so on. So I said, this is it.
Rectory over there too. So
yes, there are a couple of buildings and so on. So my obvious next question is, how much is it?
Sure.
He said, oh, it's around 11 million and so on. We cannot
How are we going to do this?
we cannot do this.
Although, before we go on, before Bob Serventi called him, the building committee was...
it was a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disaster because we had almost bought the property on 237, the big spot, but our people didn't like to go there. And then the Father Yang, he tried so hard for 5 years. As soon as he got here, he said, I'm going to build the church. So we worked so hard with Richard, Father Yang, and then, they so work hard, but it's that thing when didn't go through. So we gave up. So I said, okay, no more. We're just going to stay here. Yeah, we had it. Then he got it, then Bob called him. So
one more time, we'll try.
So
$11 million.
Oh my God.
So I straight out, and then I told them that no, it's out of our reach. I mean, I bought a couple of houses for myself, and then I know what the limits are for that also. But so And then he said, "What you think you can make it work? How about half of that price?" So I said, "Okay, I'll make it half." So I said, "Oh, wait a minute, what does that mean?" He calculated everything for us. You want to buy this whole thing, divided it into two parts, and then for us to take care of one side with all the buildings and churches and 6 acres and so on. So that's great. That's how we got started.
Wow.
But I didn't know what I was getting into, though.
Probably a good thing that you didn't know.
Yes, there are 11 people in the building committee, but I think 3 out of 11 people worked really hard.
Yeah.
That's always the case, right? Others are really cheerleaders and supporting, and so it was great. But there are a few moments I still remember. We are supposed to have our first mass beginning of October of 2013, and it was a Friday evening. I supposed to have a permit to have a mass in the building.
Oh.
Yes. Oh. I didn't have it.
Oh dear.
And so I called them up, called the general contractor, so what's going on? We don't have, we're going to have somebody coming out on Saturday. And so I said, Saturday noon passed, and then I'm frantic. I called the Father Huang, and then, this is the situation. And then he was very cool and nice in that perspective. That is, I had contingency plans, so don't worry about it.
All right.
But push it. He already set to have mass in the parking lot. I mean, he was determined.
This is
right?
going to happen.
Yeah. Saturday about 4:00, I got a phone call from a general contractor, and we have a permit to use. That went on, and then even for our dedication mass, also was the same thing. It was the end of October 27th, and then we're supposed to have everything ready, and still there are some things are missing. And then I said to myself, church is evolving. There's a never-end constructions, never-end. It's a keep changing, and there's a living church. That's what I said to myself. That it was like that, and then I got really sick after, or not even after, in the
before that, it was too much pressure with all the permits and all that.
Sure.
And then we had so many years. I think our first. We were collecting for our church after we left Queen of Apostle. And then when we went to Sunnyvale, we said, only 5 years, we're not going to stay here. 5 years, we're going to move. It took 15 years, right? 15 years. And then the first building committee, I think it was 2001, and then he was there. And he's the only one stay until we.
I remember.
Yeah, we had the mass there, and he all those years, especially
you carried the burden.
Yeah. Oh, for 2 years of finishing remodeling, we didn't build the church, but 1/3 of it we extended,
sure.
and then the remodel, and for 2 years he had 2 jobs. When we go to China for business trip, the father call and talk to him.
Oh.
It's just, for 2 jobs. I mean, he said at lunchtime he had to lunch, eat there every meeting.
Yeah.
He was a construction manager, and he came through. I mean, and then I was thinking the mass, when we're doing mass, Mom was there, right?
Yeah, ended up.
My mom was there. I'll finish my sentence. My mom was there. My dad was a church builder.
Ah.
He was building the in Korea at that time, we came 73, we came here. And about late 60 and 70, with the Koreans building church after church, my dad was building a church. Yeah, so that time we had I have a 5 sibling, and when you build a church, you don't get the money. You get your money to the church, right? That's what my dad was. That's the reason we came to America, because I was just going to the college, and then nobody can go to the college. I mean, in that situation, because my mom cannot work in Korea, and then my dad was the only breadwinner, and he works for the church. Building a church. And he got all this ore from
You
the
don't
bishop,
become wealthy
everything,
doing
cardinal
that.
and all that. Yeah, so that's why my mom said, I'm taking 5 kids to America. You stay here or not? You come here or not. But after he came here, he did the same thing. He only worked for the church. He was there. I mean, volunteering, And then, so we started. We came 73. That's only one community in San Francisco. Right now, we have a 6.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So that. And then I was thinking about my dad. My mom was there, and then, he did the same thing. And when my father's there, he'll be really happy.
I know. I know.
No,
So
but,
when did the name change happen?
From the parish?
Yeah.
Holy Grail
There was way quite before that. In fact, 2005. I have a history written down.
The whole package.
In fact, 2005, we changed the name, or I guess we did not change the name, but the name was given and then raised to a parish. But one of the things is, I was involved in all these steps quite a bit, but one of the things was that we didn't really realize what the difference is between mission and parish.
Still, I don't think anybody knows
Still,
that.
a lot of people doesn't really realize what the difference is. But as time goes on, I personally took that as, wow, what it means is that we are a former part of diocese.
Absolutely.
And permanency is there. Being in a parish is not temporary, not like a mission or community, but it's more and more permanent.
Absolutely.
So I said, we do really need a church in that warehouse. So that kind of during this period, I was thinking about that a lot. But I don't know. It's the church's teaching says that, but at least I took it that way, and I became from very beginning. Somehow I was a bridge between our community and diocese.
You were.
That was his job.
That was
Various-
really
various
that was your
Yeah.
ministry, Richard.
Right.
It really
Yes.
was, because everyone in the chancery knew you. When you came up, it was okay. Who's he coming to see this time? But that kind of thing. And then Lucia with the diocesan events, particularly the Festival of Songs that we used to have.
Yes.
I
And
love those.
and your choir would come, and the women would be in their beautiful dresses. And So no,
I
the
remember,
Korean community has been an integral part of our diocese, really from the beginning. We treasure and value you.
Then I'll say Bishop Dumaine and Bishop McGraw really took care of us. Always in his mind, you need a church. You can build a church. He trusts us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we had a lot of steps too, that he tried to give us a land. He just, I was so thankful. He's always, and then Bob Servanti was with Bishop. And
But when I really reflect on my life or my faith journey within this diocese, the really turning point for me is there are few turning points.
Always, isn't it true?
Yes, but the one very significant turning point is ILM.
How nice.
That ILM really I mean, before that, you go Mass, that's it. You go Sunday Mass, that's it. But the ILM opened my eyes that, no, wait a minute. Why I do this in the church? Why this is explained this way to me? At least given a framework of that. And I'm very analytical person. I really wanted to really, so very difficult to believe. That's my weak point, because if it cannot be explained, it's very difficult.
It's the engineer in you.
Yes. So, but the ILM really give the foundation of that's your job to find out how much you can learn about how church teaches, and continuously trying to struggle of finding out how close you are with the real truth. And I think
who gave it introduced to you? We cannot go without Anne going
no,
through
not
all
only
this.
that, not only that. Anne was the one who started ILM. So I really personally like to thank you to that really strong ministry in the diocese.
It was a joy for me and the
Yes.
folks that have come out.
Yeah, and then I remember he never missed the class unless he is out of the country.
I know.
I mean, he enjoyed every moment of it. And then after, I think I did it first, or you did it first. I
What?
think I finished the Santa Clara first, and then you went.
No, it was the other way.
The other way around,
Yes,
yeah.
you were going Santa
Going,
Clara.
but I was just taking one class at a time. So he was doing that, and then I was going school, and then he helped me so much doing other classes. He helped me a lot and write the paper for me, and then all the except the music part of it.
Sure.
And then he just did. So he was enjoying it. He was telling everybody in the parish you should go, and then he introduced, and he was like spokesman of the ILM.
Well, I remember
and he
you
really
invited me
enjoyed
to
it.
come and talk to
Oh,
the
yeah,
group
yeah,
after
a few
Mass.
times,
Yeah,
yes,
that was
yeah.
wonderful.
We're trying to,
and there were some great students.
Nice.
Tell me, what would you say are the challenges now with the Korean community, or even what do you see as the challenges in our diocese? And after that, I'll ask you the joys.
Challenges are as I see. I want to point out two things. That's my personal challenge also, but I think it'll be a challenge on the diocese also. That is, we are truly diverse community. The diocese is a very diverse ethnically.
It's true. It's true.
So our challenge is how we align in some means of alignment among all these different groups. At the end of the day, we know where we need to go. But going there somewhat coherent way is I think a very big challenge. I do English RCIA right now with another young person, young doctor, and then
He
he's
also graduated ILM.
yes,
Dr. Yoon.
and he's really into it. I mean, I think he memorized every paragraph on the Catechism of Catholic
The church, oh dear.
So every topic he bring that on in. Excellent. But there I see these challenges, and then are kind of accepting different cultures. I think that's a very, very challenging thing. I went
Would
to
you say particularly for the Korean community? Because you'd mentioned earlier you were very homogenous.
yes, Korean communities are still very somebody who are getting married with a different ethnic background is a struggle. But it's getting better. So yes, we have to start there. But even at diocesan level, I think that's going to be a challenge in the future. So that's one. The other challenge is that young adults. I've seen lot of young adults available in this area. I mean, there's this Apple building as
Oh,
spaceship to hire all these people. There are lot of young adults attracted to this area, and then how we gonna bring them to
the whole
home?
evangelization.
And even the one is not the Catholics, how we bring them a church. And they are very analytical. They are very analytical. I talked to Father Joseph Kim on this one, and he's analytical as I am. So we kind of clicks in the sense that I think when you really convince these analytical people, I think you have to really have a strong theological kind of explanation. So ILM need to be even stronger than before to pulling these people in. Even maybe have a couple of classes who are not even Catholics should attend that, to really pull them in, especially those young intellectuals. So that group, how we're going to attract that group into the church is, I think, a challenge.
What about the joys?
Joys.
I have
You have another challenge?
I had a idea of challenge. So I was with my parish for forever, and then I went to right now I'm working at Sacred Heart. It's I always have a comparison, good and bad, and each parish has good and bad. But as you said, every year we have the Korean community has like 30 people, 20, 30 people, the ICIA class. So I work with the Janine in Sacred Heart, and she asked me, how you get all these people to every year you do that? And we barely have sometimes 2, sometimes maximum 7 and all. So as a diocese, so I told Janine that we, as a parishioner in my parish, when we time to get new ICAA class going, we said, let's get the friends over, always. So everybody trying to bring our friends over. Yeah, so those kind of things that you should learn from other,
Learn from you.
Yeah,
Other
learn from
community.
other communities, yeah.
Sure.
So I said, you say, we're going to start the class, but you don't do anything. You don't do any actions. You have all around you is not a Catholic. You just have to say something to bring it. And I think the Koreans are very good at that. But
Obviously.
the bad point is the keeping up, afterwards. So we say AS, right? After the baptism, the ongoing classes with Janine, every month or every week, and then they always stay in church. 7 people baptized, and they always come. The Koreans, we don't know years later how many people. So I said, I always tell my sister, the Korean sisters, say, we have to do this, after they get baptized, they have to into the group, and then they have a Bible study themselves. Or
Sure.
I was talking to them both, because I'm working on both, the community. And so that's the one thing that I said, we should do more on the people, that you have to go out, and that's an evangelization too,
yes.
right?
Sure.
Yeah, so, but we are doing very well on that. Another thing is that volunteering. So when I went to the Sacred Heart, there is a volunteers. It's really working but it's so small group. I've been there 12th year, and it's so hard to get one choir members to join. It's so hard. In my parish, and right now the situation's a little bit different, but when I was there, it's always 30, 40 choir. And, after Mass is over, we have a light snack and practice until 4 o'clock. Nobody complain. Their service, we have to do the Easter, you need to practice,
know
we do.
yeah.
But I can't even do a little more than an hour practice. They said, I have to go home. I have to do this. And it's so it's a volunteering in the parish is so different culturally. Yeah, and then I guess Asians, we know we have to do for the church, because this is our like it's a parish, but it's immigration, the people, and
Sure,
all
it's a culture
Sunday
and a
then,
community.
yeah,
Yes.
right.
Sure.
So I said, I just couldn't get used to that. So how you make the people volunteer? I
We
know
could
the
learn from
parishes
your
and
group.
around,
We could
it's
learn from your community.
Yeah, I was telling on
Yeah.
that. And,
No, those are good. But let's go to Joy's.
yeah.
Joys. I don't know where to start. No, it's a whole. I've been whole Catholic life with the San Jose Diocese. So that's a joy by itself. That's that whole thing. But the real joy was there are a couple of things I already mentioned about the ILM turning my life upside down, so to speak. And there, the joy in a personal level was that I think all days is a formation and charity and piety. That's kind of a three legs of a church. In a Cusio, we're saying a study and a piety and action. From this ILM, I learned this importance of study. I think that's my part of a faith I need to do. Of course, I have to try to listen what God telling me to do and so on. But that the hunger of that comes from this study, because by doing this study, I think you're becoming that's not enough. Where should I go to? And that's where I. So that's one. So finding that jewel was really joy. And then second thing is, I really want to give up. So thank you to you and on that ILM. The other part is, I really enjoyed working with the highest level in the diocese decision makers. I know I want to run everything in my timeline. But that I learned very, very, very difficult way is we have to wait 15 years. But in this 15 years of a struggle, they really worked with us to carry out the 15 years and then to finish the project of moving it to McLaughlin. And I really appreciate everybody in the diocese, especially starting with Bishop McGrath, Monsignor Celia, Bob Servanti, Brandon McGuire. I mean, those are the people. I mean, they are busy. They cannot spend that much time to one parish out of this whole thing, but they did. And I really, that personal relation lead me to God to really find a true joy. So I really appreciate it. I cried a lot when Bob Servant passed away. I mean, it was God.
You should mention Bishop's letter. Bishop's letter when he was sick.
There was something else too. I've been through just some health problems,
I know.
and then
A lot of people were praying for you.
thank you. And there was one special person pray for me. She mentioned that to a bishop on some occasion. And then in fact at that time I basically woke up from a 1 week long sleep. And then I got a letter from bishop. I think it was not even bishop's office. It was a bishop. And then he said, Richard, I said a mass for you this morning. So I said, wow, who am I? So it was beautiful. So there is a kind of the kind of people we working with in diocese.
We have a pretty special diocese.
I think this diocese have a lot of things
Yeah, that's what
look
I like
forward
to say
to.
too. All my coworkers, starting from the beginning. Let's see, the first one I joined, I think, Liturgy Committee. Yeah, well, you're there and then all. So Liturgy Committee, I work with you and all the people, and they're helping each other. Really, really loves the diocese. Try to improve what we're doing and all. I mean, this group was so great. I mean, work with that. So I was with, I think, 2 terms, maximum, I'm sure. Then I was in the lay ministry, CLAM,
Yes,
Council
the
for Lay
ecclesial
Ministry.
ministry,
Yeah,
yes.
ecclesial ministry. That was a beginning too. So we were just trying to set up this committee going, and we did work so hard. But all the people there is just helping so hard. So you learn so much. You know how you work in your parish, you work for the diocese, work with the bishop, and all that. And it was a. I mean, I don't know where you can find those. Yeah, people that they spend all their time in getting together and doing all
Yeah.
that. It was so great.
What
Yeah.
it
It was
is,
just
Lucia, I think it's the culture of our diocese, led by both of our bishops. Bishop Dumaine
Yes.
Yeah.
was wonderful when it came to lay ministry. Bishop McGraw absolutely follows suit.
I think so too.
So it dribbles down.
Right,
Many of our
right,
priests
right.
are
Right.
very supportive. You know,
Then-
we are blessed.
Yeah. Then and I work in a Sacred Heart, and just steps are just one. We were so close together, help each other, and then it's just incredible staff. And then Father Gary just help us to get together. We go to retreat one time and once a year, and I mean you can see how he is taking care of his staff, and then he always say you're the best staff I work with, and she's such a great. And I mean I never knew I'm gonna stay here 12 years, and who knows, and then just he just every school, and I always said to Richard, Father Gary's the calendar. 8 to 5, no space. If
know.
I want a meeting, I have to just wait in the door, and I say one thing, and then it's just incredible. And then I always say, how Korean priest has this kind of schedule. My comparison never end, right? Because I go.
Well, you
to
have
the
a foot in both. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm so happy working in the Sacred Heart, and I try to help the diocese whatever I can. And when I was with the Korean choir, as every chance I get, I try to do the help the diocese.
Oh, yeah.
We sang for the Christmas with the Tony.
That was wonderful.
Yeah, we sang together, and then he came to our parish practice together, and then try to do all the festival songs, and it was so joy. And the choir members still talk about that. When you're here, we went here and there, and then I said, we can still do that.
We can still do that. Exactly.
Yeah.
One other thing too that we haven't talked about, but your community has given the Diocese of San Jose 3 priests.
Oh.
Absolutely.
3 Korean
so,
priests.
In
Yes.
fact,
And you have to feel very proud about
Oh, yeah.
that.
yes.
We are.
And on top of that, they are coming to our parish to say the mass.
9:30 minutes, yeah.
Something like once
Once a month.
month
Yeah, once
going
a
around.
rotation.
But when I finished this project of moving to McLaughlin, so I kind of wonder, I said, now I'm done. And then what I'm hearing is that, no, you're not done. You have to fill this church with people. And I think we did a really good job.
Yes, you did. Yes, you do.
9:30 Mass last week, week before last week, week before yesterday. It was a standing room only. It's a 700 people capacity church. People standing up.
That is wonderful. And it was just a regular Sunday Mass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regular
Not a
Sunday
This
big
is
event.
English
Mass.
speaking,
Uh-huh.
the mass.
That is wonderful.
And
It's just incredible.
so
Yeah.
all the ushers are panicking about what are we gonna do.
What a nice problem to have.
Oh.
Yes. So
And then 9:30 mass is a sandwich. We have 8 o'clock mass and 11.
Okay.
So the parking lot's full,
Oh, sure.
even if that all that space there. So then, always trying to get to the church, and there are little kids, and they come from Oakland. Jamie comes down sometimes because no other church has a mass.
And
Like,
then
yeah.
all our 3 priests, they all
Yeah.
come and
Yes,
do
sir.
the masses and stuff. And it's just that's our future. You know, people worry about this is going to be less and less Korean speaking people. But what are you going to do? Our generation's changing. Jamie, my kids are having a kid and they want to go somewhere they're home. And then they grew up with, and they're all mom and dad now.
Sure.
And then come and Sunday they meet, and it's such a good thing. We just go there, and I said, oh my goodness, these kids all came from.
So that's a real fruit and joy,
It is.
having that many people. I was going around the parking lot about 3 times to find a slot. I was so upset. But when I walked into the church, having that many people in the church, I said, thank God.
Then, as you know, that 9:30
Yeah.
choir, it's all family choir,
Yes.
adults and the
And the
kids,
kids.
and all these instruments, and they're so great. I used
Yeah.
to, when they start that mass, I help to give them the resources, you know, this book, and choose the book to use the book and all that stuff. And it just right now, it's just going so strong. And then when I had the ordination mass, were you there?
Yes.
You were there. Okay. So ordination mass for Gabriel, 9:30 mass people, young father. Oh, they helped me so much. If
Yeah.
I didn't have them, I mean, of course, Sacred Heart ladies and the
Sure.
other parishes too. But there's such a great people. We're
You
just
know, I
gonna-
think this is probably the note on which we should end. The fact that there's so much joy, so much life, so much creativity in the community, and the Korean Catholic community. The parish of Holy Korean Martyrs is such a gift to the Church of San Jose, and you are also. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Anne.
so much.